podcast is brought to you by PodPro Australia.
Social media, Google, email marketing, systems, website traffic, and the endless content creation that comes with marketing. It's overwhelming, right? Say goodbye to endless stress and hello to clarity with the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. In this podcast, I will share with you fast and free practical methods to help you manage, monetize, and market your business, all infused with a healthy dose of motivation. Let's do this. Hey, this is Chantal Gerardy from the Meaningful Marketing Podcast, and today I have Kevin Bees with me, and I'm so super excited because we've had quite a few little chin wags over the last recent while, and it has been incredibly insightful, and I was like, I've definitely got to get him onto this podcast and be able to share some of his juice and magic with our audience. As always, I love to start the podcast with, marketing isn't about what you do that's the same as everyone else. It's what you do that's different. So, Kevin, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be amazing to start us off.
So I am Australia's leading profit maximization expert. I could probably say the world's leading profit maximization expert because from the perspective of being different, no one's claimed that title of being a profit maximization expert. So I can neatly position myself there and say it with complete confidence. Now, I am good at what I do. I can really help people in that space. But I guess from a differentiation point of view, you could always call yourself a business coach like everyone else, then you're the same as everyone else. So from a differentiation perspective, I'm a profit maximization expert. How do I get to claim that title? I started my career in accounting and finance, and I became head of finance for some organizations like Qantas Business Travel, Hills Hoist. And in those organizations, I was getting to go into the business units that were broken and weren't working. And what I found out when I go into those units, those business units, I could strategically know what to change to turn things around. But when you have a business that's not functioning, you have challenges with the people. I have grown women coming into the office and crying on me, and the only strategy I had for them was to say, oh, here you go, have a tissue. That was like the extent of my leadership skills. So I realized I needed to go and learn how to be more effective in communication, how to be more effective in leading. That would have been about 13, 14 years ago now. And when I went out to learn that stuff, I realized I can change the way I think. And when I changed the way I think, it changed how I felt. It changed the actions that I took and then the results that I got. And then when I went back to the office and did that with my team members, and it changed things for them and helped improve the business. And that was just way more exciting. So ever since then, I've spent my time, helping small to medium-sized business owners and some executives as well, helping them to change their results in their business. And primarily, we can take that strategic route with the finance and the numbers and the sales and marketing. But often what unlocks it is what's going on in here, what's going on in between our two ears.
I absolutely love that. Over the course of my businesses, I've always been a business owner from, my 20s. And over the course of it, there are key stages within my life that I remember where I kind of hit a set point or hit a plateau. And I was like, I don't know where to go from here, but it seems like I'm just spinning and nothing's changing. And no matter what I did, it just wouldn't move. And I've had to apply myself, and I've had to recognize that it was my money mindset and it was the way that I was thinking. And I had to retrain the way that I was thinking. Now, for a control freak, I can tell you now, that is like the weirdest and most scariest thing to have to do, because for me, I just want to take more action and I just want to do it in my own capacity and my own strength. But it was almost like the more that I did, the worse off I was. But the more I sat back and started to apply, money mindset and work on my mind and getting in touch with my feelings and my relationship with money, the more things started to change. And then I got to see that in the businesses, in my clients as well, because clients would all have access to me, they'd have access to all the strategies. And I'd go, if they've all got access to the same things, why are some doing so well and others just not doing well? But it seems like they seem to be applying the same sort of strategies and doing the same things, but nothing's working. And I was like, I want to really find out what that thing is. Like, what is that thing that's stopping them?
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about what you think it is?
And I think a lot of us have had that experience, and sometimes it doesn't matter how hard we push or we slog, it doesn't seem to change. You can start working every hour of the day. You can start hustling, hustle your way there. That's okay. Maybe if you're someone who's doing nothing and not taking any action, like to hustle, to get started, good idea. But once you're off and running and you have some momentum, it's not pushing harder or finding the new strategy that's necessarily going to change it for you. It's shifting again back to that piece we talked about before, that the psychology, how are you thinking about things? Because you spoke about your money psychology, and your money psychology is really about what do you feel comfortable being able to earn and keep. And a lot of people go, oh, I would keep millions, I would keep billions. But actually, a lot of people's psychology isn't geared for that. If you think about lottery winners, so let's say a lottery winner, let's presume that their net worth is probably close to little, let's say close to nothing, right? And then they win a big sum of money, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. What's the statistic? What happens to most lottery winners within 2 years of earning that money? Like they go and get all that money, and then within 2 years they find a way to get rid of it, lose it, and then they're mostly back where they are. Flip that to another way. If you think about people who've had big success in business, they've been worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and then all of a sudden, whatever, they have all that money and then they lose it. What typically happens to those guys after a couple of years? They find a way to get it back quicker than ever before. And that's because, not because the amount of money or the resources they have around it, it's because their psychology is that they are worth that much money, or they are worth earning that much money. So a lot of people listening, just check in, like, is there a certain amount of income that you've been stuck on? You haven't been able to break through that barrier. For some people it's the 100K mark. For some people it's the 250K mark. Some people it's getting through that million mark. Maybe some of the listeners have passed that, and maybe it's more about a net worth. Maybe they get a certain amount of cash in the bank, and then once they have that cash in the bank, they need to find a way to get rid of the cash. Now, the way it works, we talk about that set point, it's like an air conditioning unit, like a thermostat. So if you set the air conditioning, in the room to be at, say, 20 degrees, well, when it gets a bit hotter, gets to 22, 23, 24, what happens? It kicks in cool air and it brings it back down. Sometimes it overshoots, the sun goes down, it gets to 19, 18, 17, then it kicks in warm air, up and down. So up and down, but always up and back to that same point. Same thing for us with that income and that money then. So say we have a set point and it's having 10 grand in the bank, 50 grand in the bank, 100 grand in the bank. Say it's 100,000. You have $100,000 in the bank. Well, what happens when you start to spend that money? Maybe you have bills to pay. You have to pay your tax bill. You have to pay your team. You have to, maybe your car is broken down. As you're getting away from that point of 100,000, you're getting closer to zero. Your motivation is increasing because it feels really uncomfortable. If you're worth, if you think your bank balance should be 100K and you're now getting down to your last 20, your last 10, motivation really increases because this is pain over here. You don't want that pain. So you do everything you can. You implement that new marketing strategy. You call in the debtors that are owed to you, and you get back to that point. And you're not really motivated as much anymore because you're in that set point. And maybe things go really well and you get from that 100,000, you end up, your marketing campaign really works really well, right? Or you get inheritance and you start creeping up. Now you start getting towards the edge of maybe 200,000. Now that's when your brain starts thinking, oh, I'm comfortable with 100. How can I get rid of that 100? What can I do with it? Let's get some holidays, take some toys. Let's make some expensive mistakes in the business until we find our way back down here. Right now, some of you are thinking that's crazy. I wouldn't do that. I would keep all that money. But what happens, I've got a good example of this. A gentleman I was working with in New Zealand, over a period of a year, we over doubled the size of his business. And he got to that stage where he was having money and wealth and he was beginning to feel like he was starting to sabotage and not take the action that he needed to take. And that was really bringing it down. And when we examined it, he had a belief there. And his belief was that wealthy people are dicks. He was from New Zealand, so he said wealthy people are dicks, right? So he said wealthy people are dicks, okay? Now, of course, if you have a belief that people are wealthy or dicks and you're becoming wealthy, well, you don't want to be a dick, so find a way to get rid of it. Now, we can kind of laugh at it because these things are subconscious. We don't really know this. I can give you a million other examples. One lady, she wanted to go out and become, she wanted to go from one-on-one coaching and become an international speaker. And she got to the stage of being an international speaker. And then when she was out here doing all this international speaking, having more money, more success, well, then she starts having other things come up, about her childhood, and it was all a way to hold her back and keep her there. Because if we grow too much beyond our current ecosystem and the people around us, we have all these things like, well, how are they going to feel? I have the new house, the new car. How are my friends going to think about me? How are my family going to think about me? We don't want to make them necessarily feel bad because we've grown beyond what they can do or something like that. So we'll find a way potentially to play small and stay within our surroundings. So Gay Hendricks calls this, in his book, I think it's called The Big Leap or The Radical Leap. I can't remember which one of his books calls. He calls this upper limiting. We all have this thing where we can upper limit ourselves. We get to an area and we don't bust through it. And all of these things, I'm talking about, we're going up and down in wealth and money. Either side of this is really our beliefs, is our boundaries about our own self-worth, about what it means to have that money. And if we never stop and examine it, we never have someone help us identify, like hold that mirror up and identify what is their specific belief. Well, we'll just keep doing the same thing. We'll keep push and come back to the same result.
Oh, so much in there. I mean, I remember one of my earliest sort of money mindset things that I had to deal with, or beliefs, was around, my mum used to say, like, as a single mum of 4 kids, she would say, I never stop working. If you stop working, you'll never have any money. And, then I looked at that a little bit later on and I was like, why am I like always exhausting myself, working from morning till night, and I'm never enjoying my time, because I'm doing this. And it was because of belief that had come into me. So I had to start gathering evidence to support that wasn't true, so that I could create a new belief. So many good things there. And the other one is I notice a lot is that when we're coming up with offers for like pricing and how we're going to actually price your services or price your products online, if your relationship with money and if your set points, or if you think something is expensive, you think it's expensive, it may not be expensive, because that's in the eye of the beholder, right? They suddenly will underprice, and if they overprice, they don't feel comfortable receiving that amount of money, because they now have the belief that no one has that kind of money to spend on that offer. And what happens is suddenly now they're just deflecting income. I believe it's kind of like a magnet. And I've said this to you previously when we were talking about this. It's like when they go out onto social media and when they write emails and when they write blogs, it's almost like you can feel that when they're writing their content, when they're communicating with their audience online, they are talking in a way that it sounds like, it's only this amount, it's only a little bit of money, you can afford this. And people are like, get icky about it. They're like, I would have paid more for it if you'd positioned it in a different way. But because you feel bad about it and you've communicated it this way, now all of a sudden it's icky. And I always say your audience can sniff it. They can sniff how you feel about your offer and your pricing
they feel
in
the
your
ick.
content.
Everyone has a good ick sensor around that. And you, yes, and your team. Here's the other thing. I was working with one of my clients, and we put the prices up because they were undercharging in comparison to what the market would pay. And all of a sudden the conversion tanked, and they thought it was to do with the sales increase, but the price increase, but it actually wasn't, because we know other people in the marketplace were charging that. And we went and found the sales team member who was going for it, didn't believe it was worth the higher price. They, in their mind, were thinking, well, I can do this task in a few hours and my time is worth this, so this is only worth this. But I mean, they weren't considering the fact that the business had to pay for all of the overheads, the business had to pay for all the marketing. There was a bigger aspect there. So once we helped that sales team member understand that and help them understand the value in the marketplace, why this was an appropriate price, and help them shift their belief, well, of course, then the conversion increased and the sales went up. So yeah, yourself and your team, super critical to make sure that people who are working with you are really aligned. Otherwise, it's like you're rowing the boat in one direction, they're rowing the boat in another.
Yeah, 100%. If your marketing managers or your VAs, if they're managing your marketing and they're writing the content for you, perhaps they're even offshore. If that's the case and you're charging a certain amount of money, to them it might seem like it's a huge amount of money, and they may not believe that it's possible that it will make sales. And the way that they apply themselves to that marketing campaign is certainly going to impact the result. 100%. Absolutely love that. So with the psychology of selling, what else can you share with us
let's
on
stick
that?
on this money mindset piece, because I think it really also relates to the selling massively as well. And it's kind of ingrained in all of us from a long period of time, because I can say these sentences, and I'll get you to finish it as you're listening. Finish these sentences. If I said to you, money doesn't grow on
trees.
money is a root of all
Evil.
It takes money to make
Money.
Now, everyone listening just said the same thing.
Money.
It doesn't matter which country I've done this in.
Yeah.
Everyone has the same answer. Like subconsciously, that seeps in there.
Yeah.
That's part of our thinking. It's part of our mindset. And so if we don't ever examine that, it's going to be the same. Now, I say everyone. In one country, I was in Sweden, and I said it takes money to make, and the guy in the front row shouted, it takes money to make out. And I was like, oh, it's a little bit different here. Very different here. So we all have these beliefs in there. And I think from psychology of sales and selling, number one, we got to examine that. If we are finding we're not getting the conversion rate that we want, well, why? What are our beliefs? What are our beliefs around our pricing and our products and our service? What are our beliefs around money? What are our beliefs around our own worth? And so we need to identify that if you're not getting the amount of sales conversion that you want, we need to examine that. What are your beliefs? What's happening? Now, one easy way we can do that to get started is we can probably just play the money is game. Right. And so what I would suggest is, as I say the word money is, you then start writing down everything that money is to you. So you may say money is fun, money is easy, or money is hard to come by. Money. I had one the other day. The guy said, money is a destroyer of relationships. I said, ooh, like if that's what you believe about money, like no wonder you're not in a hurry to get it, because I value my relationships. I don't want to destroy relationships. So whatever it is for you, I appreciate we're live on a podcast now. If we were in a classroom together, I'd say let's stop, let's pause, let's do this exercise. So maybe we'll pause the audio for a minute or two, write down every association you have with money. So money is all the positive ones, all the negative ones. And then we can start to examine them. Once you identify them, we can examine which ones are serving you. Once we bring it into your awareness, then we can start to change it. Now, I did this with one client, and his belief was money is hard to come by. And he was going for a bit of a struggle at the time. He wasn't converting clients. And now he had some reasons to think that, because he wasn't converting clients. But when I asked him, is that belief really true? He said, well, actually, no, it's not true. He found some examples of where it wasn't true. He said, I had inheritance come through to me, and this property that I live in now, it's in the time I've lived in it is doubled or tripled in value, right? And he had some tax refund, and so he found many examples of where money wasn't hard to come by, where it was easy. And so taking that reference point then and picking the opposite of whatever was on that list, he started saying money is easy to come by. And guess what? Over the coming weeks, he closed 2 or 3 clients. Now, he'd been struggling before. We never changed his strategy. I never told him, hey, you need to do this in your sales process, or you need to do this in your conversation. We just changed his thinking and his belief that money is easy to come by. And guess what? It started to show up. I can give you a million examples. This one of my clients, he's an executive in Switzerland, and he had this similar belief, and he started to say, which one did we come up with? We used something like, I'm a money magnet and money flows to me from the most amazing places, right? I don't think it was exactly the one, but it's very close to that. And anyway, he started saying that. And then the next week it was quite amusing, because he messaged me to say, hey, Kevin, guess what? And when I went into work, my boss gave me a pay increase, 20%. And he's backdated it for 6 months, which was really interesting. So it got backdated. And he said, additionally, I take my auntie to bingo and we never, ever win. But since I started saying this, we took her to bingo. We won 3 times in one night. And I think it's kind of interesting. Once we start saying these things, they show up. It's like, I liken it to, I was reading the other night, the book, The Wizard of Oz, to my daughter. And now in The Wizard of Oz, the kingdom of Oz is meant to be like the Emerald City, and everything is green. Now, the only way everything is green is because whenever anyone arrives at the city, he makes them put on these green glasses. Everyone has these green lenses on, so everything looks like it's emerald. And so they then believe it's an emerald city. I think the same thing is true. We all have these glasses on. We may have a belief that money's hard to come by. And guess what? We're going to find all the examples of how money's hard to come by. Or we may have the belief that money comes by easily, and we're going to see that everywhere. I'll give you an example of this. I was interviewing Jim Penman. You know him from Jim's Mowing franchise, right? And every other franchise that he has now. I listened to him. One of the beliefs he had in the conversation we're having, he said, Kevin, there's opportunity everywhere. You just need to bend down and pick it up, right? There's opportunity on the floor everywhere. You just need to bend down and pick it up. Now, if that was your glasses, if that was what you believe this week, you were walking around looking at everything from the perspective like there's opportunity everywhere, I just need to pick it up. Do you think you're going to find more opportunity or less opportunity?
Oh, it's so good. I used to own health, wellness, and fitness centers. And when we're talking about set points, you'd also have a set point with your weight. So I'm going to use this as a different example to what you've just shared, because people resonate with this. But, say you're 62 kgs and you keep going to the gym, and no matter what you do, you're always at 62 kgs, and you get on the scale every day and you look at it and you go, I'm 62 kgs. I just can't seem to lose weight. And how do you show up then? You go to the gym, you moan, you complain, you drag yourself there. And then you might go, right, I'm going to get myself a personal trainer. And if I get myself a personal trainer, and you look at the personal trainer now and you say to the personal trainer, I want you to make me lose weight. So they want the quick fix. They're not wanting to take the responsibility. So it's like, you're not programming me right, or you haven't set the right weights, or you haven't write the right programming, or you haven't, hold me accountable enough, or you haven't done that. And there's this whole thing about like externally now passing it on to somebody else. And I get this even in my coaching business and I'm lucky enough, I don't take those clients on anymore. I can see it straight away now, don't do it. But then there's those people, and they go in and they look at it, and they see 62 kgs, but then they go, I now see myself as 58 kgs. And they go, I'm not going to get on the scale. I'm going to put 58 kgs. I'm going to stick it on the mirror. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to go, I am 58 kgs. I am 58 kgs. Suddenly they're making better choices. They're eating better. They're taking responsibility for their action. And next minute, they're the ones who are achieving the result. Now what happens is you get the people where they go, As soon as I end an 8-week challenge, I straight away pick up weight. What have they done? They've just given themselves permission to go and pick up weight and stop following the same process they've found over the 8 weeks. Whereas the other ones who over the 8 weeks, went down, got to the 58, they've made the choice and they go, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for getting to this weight right now. My body's my temple. I'm going to respect it. I'm going to continue the process and continue doing what I'm doing. And I mean, and that's just like just an ongoing thing that in the fitness industry I saw so many times. So I just want to share that with the audience because it might just be such another relevant exercise to share with you, to show you how this actually
beautiful
works.
Lesson for anyone who's interested in improving their health. And it really is a great metaphor because the same thing is true around the finances and the money. Now, what you said, I really want to pull to the surface about this vision. For someone to be 58 kilos, you said, I am 58 kilos. And to go along with that, say I am 58 kilos, they had to have a visualization or image of what they're going to look like, what that's going to feel like, what's it going to sound like. They get that really sensorized. So the same thing is true in the business. So what is the I am you need to say though? Maybe it is I am, a millionaire. Maybe I am a leader. Maybe I am someone who earns, X dollars per year, right? I am financially free. So what is it we say after the words I am? Because whatever we attach to the words I am, we need to act in accordance with it. The strongest force in the human personality is to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you say I am 58 kilos, well, guess what? We need to do that. If I say I am a marathon runner, guess what? I better start putting on my running shoes and running. If I say I'm an author, guess what? I'm going to start writing. I need to do those things. Otherwise, I feel a deep incongruence. I can't go around telling people I'm a marathon runner and then not book in for a marathon and not have some running shoes. I can't go and tell people I am 58 kilos and then not do the working out. For me, I think your lesson or your metaphor is true. I have my wife's 40th birthday coming up in October, and I've had a visualization since the beginning of the year of how great I'm going to look when I'm on the beach. I had a dad bod at the beginning of the year, and I've been going to the gym, minimum 4 times per week, some weeks more when we're shredding things, eating the right things. And that visualization has kept me on track because at some points it could be difficult. You pick up an injury and you may think, whatever, I'm just going to eat what I want and not bother training anymore. Just forget about it here. But there's still that vision. I have that vision. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to make it happen. Now, as I get closer to the time, the motivation is increasing. As I ever get closer and closer, it's like, right, I still got to get this to happen. Otherwise, it could be very easy if I didn't have that visualization and didn't see myself that way. Then it would be so easy to stop or find an excuse not to keep going. So yeah, your metaphor is a perfect one.
And I mean, you've said so many great things there around, obviously having goals would be really important. Having a deadline is really important. Having it present so that you can see what it is. Being a business owner is tough. It is freaking hard work to show up every single day. And it's not for the faint-hearted. People have to empower themselves. And I always say your willpower is a muscle. Like you have to exercise that muscle. And those affirmations that you just spoke about now, being aware, reframing things, that all is a choice that we can make for ourselves and to empower ourselves so that we can work that willpower muscle so that it can get stronger. Because the more we say we can't, we won't. And the more we say we can, we will. And I think that, like anything, we've got to make that choice. If you want to be successful, you could just start with an affirmation, I am capable. I am capable. Like just attach something that feels comfortable for you, but it still empowers you to keep going.
Money flows to me from the most amazing places. It's amazing when you say that. I can share with you example after example of people when they start saying these things. It sounds, I know there's probably not much scientific proof behind this, but I've seen too many people who start saying these kind of affirmations and then find examples of money showing up. Someone who said that, I'm a money magnet, money flows to me from the most amazing places. They were trying to they had to go and pick the kid up and they didn't have change for the parking meter. And they're scrambling around, couldn't get it. And they get there and someone left the all-day ticket on the machine, so they didn't need the money. And so then with the change they did get, they thought, hey, I'm going to go through go and get the takeaway through the drive-through, with the change I've got, I'm going to, buy my daughter a takeaway. As they went through the drive-through, the person in front had paid for their dinner. Okay, so now that's after saying these things. At the beginning, they're like, oh, Kevin, this stuff is, a bit woo-woo. But then they start saying it and it's amazing what shows up. So I think whatever you can say around I am, that reinforces your belief about I am amazing at sales. I'm amazing at selling. I'm a magnet for clients. Great. Say those things. And one thing there as well, like, in terms of beliefs, I heard you say, running a business is tough. Like you probably have a lot of examples, a lot of evidence of how that can be true. I can find a lot of examples and evidence of how that's true. But if we affirm that, is it going to continue to be tough? Could we pick a different word there as well? Like, how do you describe being in business?
100%.
Maybe for some people, business is, effortless, business is, fun, business is easy, business is, exciting. So however, and I don't, not making you wrong for saying that, because that's been your experience, but I'd like other people to think as they're
Yeah,
listening,
yeah, yeah.
how do you describe business? If you're saying things that aren't serving you, can you catch yourself and shift that and change that? Is there another word that you can put to that, and could the experience change? And here's what I think about this. I think we all can have the same experiences, but we all make them mean something very different. And it's how we attach that, how we describe it, changes our experience. I had a client a decade ago, and she started to say, I'm going to use the word epic. I'm going to have epic experiences. And now, a decade on, she says to me, Kevin, my life is epic, because she started using that word, and she started to find things that were epic. She's seeing things. Now, there's some things that have changed in her life that, are particularly epic because of the things that we've done. But I think part of the changing the word and changing the description actually changed the experience. I'll give you one more example of this. When I worked in the corporate environment, I reported to the group CFO, and me and my colleagues who reported to him all sat in a row. And anyway, one day this group CFO walked by, he had his head down, his papers under his arm. He didn't speak to us, which was a little bit unusual, but he didn't speak. He just, off he went. Now, the person on my left started thinking, oh, well, he didn't tell me about my report. Maybe my report wasn't very good, and if the report's not good, he'll probably fire me. And if he fires me, then what's gonna happen with my job? How am I gonna pay for my kids' school fees? And they were in a terrible mood for the rest of the day. I thought as he went by, oh, it's unusual. I should check in on him. Maybe he's stressed. Maybe he needs some help with something. And the person on the end thought, wow, that dude really needs to get laid, right? So all three of us in the same situation all attached a very different meaning to it, a very different description to the event. And we all had a different experience of the day, and we all took very different actions as a result of that. And so the point I want to make is how are we describing things? Can we start using words that get you more juiced and more excited about your business, and maybe more juiced about sales and selling, and more juiced about marketing? I know for some people, as you say, marketing can be tough or challenging, is a stretch. So maybe what if we change our description around the marketing and the sales? What words can we put to it that make us feel more pulled towards it or more excited to go do it?
Yeah, 100%. It could be more
Rewarding,
rewarding.
for sure. That would get you more excited.
Yeah, great word. 100%. I love that. So, okay, because this is the Meaningful Marketing podcast, a question I always like to ask is, what meaningful marketing strategy have you applied that has worked really well? And then I'm going to ask you, what meaningful marketing strategy did you do and you thought, oh, if I had my moment back, I wouldn't have done that?
Let me go with the one I wouldn't do again, which is cold calling. I started off my career, and I really didn't have any other option. I got a list of businesses around me, and I'd pick up the phone, and I would call 100 people per day, every day. And so across a period of 2 weeks, you get through 1,000 people. If you did it right, you get maybe 30 come in to see a presentation or do a one-on-one interview with you. And then out of that, I would get clients. Now, it worked. I mean, it works. I did that for a period of a year, but it was a slog. It was a lot of hard work. I've lost count the number of people who swore at me down the phone. And the funniest one was someone shouted at me down the phone very seriously, "I'm on a ski lift. How dare you call me when I'm on a ski lift?" I was like, I'm not really sure why they answered, but yeah. So I wouldn't.
Thanks for the
that's a strategy I probably
FYI.
wouldn't be in a hurry to do again, because that was a decade and a half ago. We've got a lot more possibilities open up to us again. So look, that strategy can certainly work for certain industries and certain businesses, but it's a numbers game, and you've got to be relentless. And you talk about mindset, you need to have a pretty good mindset to deal with rejection. I was hunting every day. If I made over 100 calls, 110, 115 some day, I was just hunting for the 3 or 4 people who, this was the right time for, and that was it. So it's a law of numbers, that one. The other one, then, the marketing strategy that I have used that I think would be valuable is, let's stick with this psychology and mindset piece. Cialdini and his laws of influence. So Cialdini has a book, it's called Influence and the Psychology of Persuasion, and some other books, including Predictably Irrational with Dan Ariely. I put together some of those things and start applying those in my marketing and in my sales and in my conversation. Now, in that book, that guy shares 6 laws. I've got kind of 8 laws that I've put in place. And out of those 8 laws, if you start applying them into any of your marketing, any of your sales conversations, conversion increases, because all of the principles in the book are designed to help people say yes more. And if you can get them to say yes more, then of course they're more likely to want to do a partnership with you, do a podcast with you, come and join you in your community, or become a client.
Oh, absolutely love that. With all the sales strategies that we go through, all the online marketing stuff, we try to make it meaningful and we try to get yeses out of people. But meaningful obviously is really important as well. It's got to be meaningful for me, meaningful for you. And of course, it's going to be a yes then. Why wouldn't it be if it was meaningful for both of us? So I love that so much. Now, do you have a free resource that you can offer our community today?
I have some resources that you can access. There's a report where you can get 125 free and easy money maximizing strategies. It takes you maybe 10 minutes to read through this thing. And I've had people read through it and say it's been worth thousands to them. It's also a profit scorecard. So if you wanted to, identify where your gaps in your profit are as well, it'll take you a few minutes. You key in the answers in there and it will tell you, hey, here's where your gaps are. So you can just get that easily at profit.gifts. So GIFTS. So it's like my gift to you. So profit.gifts. Yeah. And there's 2 or 3 things there. Yeah. Please go and have a look through those. And if you have any questions, I'm open, more than happy to have a chat with you about what's happening in your business.
Oh, that's super awesome. No worries. We'll put that link in the chat, in the comments below. Thank you so much to you, Kevin, today. I could talk to you for hours. So we'll definitely have to have another podcast interview again and keep it rolling. I'm in. And thank you so much to our audience that is watching today. This is another episode of the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. And thank you to our guest, Kevin Bees. Thanks for listening in. Meaningful marketing is all about you making your marketing meaningful. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. But subscribing means that you won't miss out on future episodes all about marketing and motivation. Stay inspired, stay focused, and make your marketing meaningful.